So, Scorched Earth has finally released for ASA. Luckily, with not really too much delay. There was a little bit of a delay, as obviously this did release on the 1st. I know this video is coming out on the 4th. It's a little bit late. I just had some other stuff going on and some other videos that I put out instead. But I have been playing around with Scorched Earth on ASA, and I felt I would give it a few days because I wanted to play around with it, you know, and really get a feel for it. I haven't really done much in terms of the story, although I have beaten Scorched Earth many a time, so it really is no issue for me whatsoever with the story, and I haven't done it because I've done it multiple times before. But one thing that I can say about this thing is it has released in a much better state than the island. There tends to be rocks that are actually grounded onto the ground, and also on top of this as well, generally everything is more sound when it just comes to the graphical fidelity and the performance. There tends to be less crashes and less bugs. I know that is also just because the game is advancing further, but I have just seen that a lot more in recent times, and that is really good. ASA is really heading in the right direction. I know a lot of people did get angry after the Ascendeds got delayed, but this is some good content coming from Ark and from ASA, and it is really one which I hope that we're all going to enjoy even more, as it's truly great at the moment, and I'm sure it's going to be great weeks and years to come. It just looks so damn amazing. So from now on, all the background footage is just what I've recorded on my setup, being with a Ryzen 7 3800X, 24 gigs of DDR4 RAM, and also an RTX 3090, and I do have the FSR frame generation mod enabled. Otherwise I would not be able to achieve near 60 FPS, and honestly this experience kind of does feel like a 60 FPS one for me with less latency. It pretty much runs the same as the island, I find, from just what I've played so far, and sometimes even better, especially just considering the optimization seems to be better and more sound. So it actually generally seems to even run better than the island, and actually it definitely does look a lot better. Like all the geometry and all of that is in the right place. Everything seems as it should be, and this is really when I need to say that ASA should have been released much later. And if the island had released in a state like this, and where Scorched Earth is released now, except if that was with the island, and even maybe if Scorched Earth was finished then at the same time, we could have two maps off the bat like that, and they would be of this higher quality. If you look at all the terrain on the ground and all the trees, there's no bugs with leaves missing, there's no shadow glitches. Yeah, there's some artifacting there when I'm mining some rocks, and you know, there's technical glitches all over the place, but that is kind of just ASA at the moment. Although there's one thing which I've looked at a lot more, which is nicer to have in this, which isn't kind of in the island, which is where the shadows finally aren't bugging as much, as there's foliage everywhere on the island. I know there's a lot less trees and things like that, but I've noticed those shadows are not glitching and flickering all over the place like they are on the island, and the island's still like this. You still got the quite annoying flickering volumetric clouds in the background, which isn't to my preference, but obviously it does play into DLSS. I am using DLSS performance in this at 1440p, although I've actually changed it now in my recent settings after recording this. Instead of using DLSS performance, I'm using DLAA now, and the image does look a lot sharper. You still get obviously the flickering and the volumetric clouds, but it is a lot less than on the island. It is nowhere near as noticeable, and obviously the image quality is just a lot higher with that DLA on, and my performance really hasn't seemed to change. I should actually mention I have capped my FPS to 60, so if you're wondering why maybe your system is getting a lot more FPS than mine, if you have a 3090 or even a lower end GPU and you're like, why is this guy's 3090 running so badly, I have capped my FPS to 60 just for the reasons of I only have a 60Hz monitor, and I don't really feel as if I need more than 60 FPS, and most of the time I'm not really reaching it. I'm kind of like 50s, mid 50s, higher 50s in most cases, but it's not really too much of an issue for me. It still feels very smooth. Again, the performance is nice. There obviously are a few floating rocks, you can just see I've gone past a few there, but ASE had that all over the place as well. That really is not too much of an issue, and ASA is really heading in the right direction, and I am loving to see all of this, because as Ark players, obviously we want this game to succeed. We want this game to be just so great and good for all the players out there. Obviously it's still so intensive, and obviously that really can't be fixed considering it's a UE5 game, and I doubt it will ever run amazingly until maybe 5 years time. Then you can really get some good performance with this thing, and all people really around can actually run this. But on consoles it has been running pretty smoothly, and I'm pretty sure that this release and all of it has gone pretty smoothly. You also got Bob's Tall Tales, I think it's called that. I have done none of that whatsoever, but if you do want me to do some of that, then leave a comment down below, and also make sure to subscribe on the video as well. I do like to hear all of your input to all of this. Are you enjoying your impressions of Scorched? Have you been playing and enjoying this DLC? Because I definitely have. Obviously it's a free DLC with the game, unlike ASE where, you know, obviously it's a paid DLC, and I think the DLCs work better like that. You still got to pay for the Oasiosaur, I think is what it's called. At least I haven't seen it anywhere, and I haven't used it. I'm pretty sure that's still the same and still consistent, but there might be on the map as well. I actually haven't kept up with the Ark news the most, but have you tamed an Oasiosaur, or have you not tamed Oasiosaur? I'm pretty sure it's still locked behind a paywall though. I'll have to check that, and if it is, then I'll probably just go and now and get that for the sake of you guys, and maybe I'll make an Oasiosaur taming video. If you want to see that from me, then comment that down below, and I'll be sure to make a video on how to tame an Oasiosaur, as I do want to help you guys out. And actually a lot of you have been asking for tutorials as well, and if you want me to do more tutorials, then at probably some point I'll do a poll on my channel on just like the community tab. If you want more tutorials from me instead of just the regular top 10 content, and if you want some more news content from me and just updates on what I'm thinking of the game, comment that down below as well, as I'm sure I can very easily put those in between obviously all the regular top 10 videos, and that is content that I am very happy to do for you. I just want to know if the input from you guys will be there, and also I do need to regulate and see how they do compared to the top 10 videos, as if they're not doing as well, then I can't really do them as much, because I do in some way have a lot of monetary incentive to do the top 10 videos rather than other ones. And you know, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to make loads and loads of money from YouTube videos, because I'm not the highest earning channel out there by any means, and I don't make tons and tons of money a YouTube video. But for all that I can make, I can still make a decent amount for me every day off of the top 10 videos that I'm producing. And if another video doesn't do so well and it's a different style of video, and usually I'm putting a lot more effort into those videos as the infrastructure isn't behind them, then I tend to really not revisit those videos again. I've done loads of Let's Plays on the channel, or tried to do some Let's Play related things, and they don't seem to catch on as well, and maybe that's just because of how much time I have in a day to simply do a Let's Play. And you know, obviously it's a very competitive market. You not really know if you can really catch on in that, and I really haven't seemingly caught on in all of that. But you know, I just want to know if you want to see more like news videos, or you want to see more kind of tutorial videos, as they have caught on my channel before. Actually, my most popular video on the channel is a breeding settings guide, so I think that probably is a good indicator to do some more tutorials. But I do obviously want to know your thoughts down below on that, because I want to know an input from you, because I want to see what you want to see from the channel as well, not just obviously what pays the amount of money that I'm wanting to make on each video, but also I do want to enjoy making the videos. And in the case of Let's Plays, I don't really enjoy making them too much, especially on the editing side of things, because I do have to edit everything as well, and that isn't really the best for me. Anyway, short ramble over, going into looking again at just generally what I think of this map, and also graphically. There's a lot of incentive for ASA at the moment, actually, compared to a lot of other games, as it really is a good looking one, and it's not actually for a terrible price. If it was 50 quid, like $50, that would really not be great, but it's only about 35, and with a game that looks this great, especially if you've got the hardware to run it, it is definitely a big incentive to get a game like this. And this cave is probably my favorite looking bit of the map. Just the blues, the vibrancy, obviously it just looks so good. And I have put obviously some extra vibrance on this footage as well, but it's not too dissimilar. The one that I usually use in my videos was far too intense for this, because the game is already so vibrant and pops so much with colors. I've used a much less drastic vibrancy effect to get obviously this video just looking slightly brighter, more vibrant, as I find they look of high quality when I do that. But there really isn't too much difference in it. Yeah, maybe it's not quite as orange, but in the case of this cave it's pretty much the same, except the gamma does seem to be a little bit higher and those pinks come out a little bit more, and you know, the lighting kind of penetrates a bit more. It's obviously why you use a lighting filter or vibrancy filter to apply over a video, because it's very easy work for me, and in my opinion it makes the videos look of high quality. And obviously you can see the artifact there. Just the amount of illumination is truly great. Obviously maybe for the performance purposes I wouldn't put ray tracing in this game, and frankly it doesn't really need it, but if it did have some like extra ray trace reflections, that would really be an extra just nice thing to have on top of this as well. Again, doesn't really need it because it just looks so great. And really, if you do have access to ASA and it runs well for you and it looks as good as this for you, then you really have no reason to complain. Yes, obviously I have complained about ASA generally, but if you're running the game like this and it looks this good, you're getting about 60 FPS, and it honestly, it's a gorgeous looking game. You have no reason to complain about this thing. ASA Scorched Earth is really a DLC worth playing. You should get out there and finish this DLC, or just play through the map, experience it in your own time. Or if you're that kind of person that wants to get through the story, you really can in like 10-15 hours. Like tops. There really isn't a lot to the story on Scorched Earth. It's the shortest map to get through. It's the easiest yet hardest probably for 100 days, because it's going to be very easy. You've got a lot of time to prepare, as there's not too much you have to do to get into the boss fights, but it's obviously going to be a little bit more difficult because maybe the boredom of not really doing quite as much. Also, I do like what they've done to the water here, because it's just clear water. On ASC, I have no comparisons for this video, by the way, but you know, you probably know by now what water looks like on ASC, and water is really where ASC falls apart, to be honest. Any kind of fluid it doesn't do very well with, and they don't look also realistic, and the sound effects aren't too all realistic either. My only obviously real nag about the graphics of ASA is to do the characters. I think they still look a little bit too goofy, but all the effects, all the models, they still stand up till today. The textures are really nice as well, much higher quality than in ASE. The lighting really does make the biggest difference. That's why if you're thinking of what setting to increase out of any setting in Ark, it is that lighting. I can't remember quite what it's called, but it's something to do with lighting. Just crank that thing up to high or epic. It's really going to make a lot of difference. And on top of that, then you can do shadows next, and the shadows are really going to boost it. I think I've got the lighting on epic and the shadows on high in this case. As medium and low, they're pretty much interchangeable for the shadows. High really makes a big difference, and then epic doesn't make too much difference further than that, and obviously then it performs worse. One thing though, if you're having a video GPU, sorry for AMD people out there, or even Intel people out there, or actually people with a GTX GPU, as it doesn't work with them, people with an RTX GPU who have ASA and they don't think it's running as well as they should, download the FSR 3 frame generation mod. It will help you so much. I've put a video, I'll link it here.